blood vessels. We have looked at the heart already, and we said that the heart pumps blood to the rest of the body parts. Okay, and the heart is basically one of the components of the circulatory system. When we talk about the circulatory system in humans, there are three major components: the heart, which is the pump, and then we have the blood vessels that carry this blood, okay, away from the heart and also back to the heart. And then the last component is the blood. Okay, so three things constitute the circulatory system of the human: the heart, the blood vessels, and then the blood. We can still call the circulatory system, we can still call it the cardiovascular system, if I may write that. Cardiovascular system. So cardio means the heart, and then vascular means the blood vessels. Okay, and then the blood vessels carry blood. Okay, and that blood can be oxygenated or deoxygenated blood. Okay, so we want to look at these blood vessels, the three different types of blood vessels, and their structure and their function, and then we'll look at their differences. Okay, so blood is carried through a network of blood vessels. Okay, so these blood vessels are of three types: the arteries, veins, and then capillaries. Okay, so we start by looking at the arteries. We said for you to easily remember, when we talk about arteries, that A helps you to remember that it takes blood away from the heart. So this A for arteries should make you remember that the blood is carried away from the heart. So usually the blood that is taken away from the heart to the different organs is containing oxygen, and therefore we call that blood oxygenated blood. Okay, we call that blood oxygenated blood. That's about the composition of the blood that is being taken away from the heart to the different parts of the body. But we also have blood that is moved from the heart to the lungs, but and this is carried through the pulmonary artery, but the composition is different. That blood is instead deoxygenated blood. Okay, deoxygenated blood here. So this is to say that this blood does not have oxygen, is not rich in oxygen, it's actually rich in carbon dioxide, and has to be taken to the lungs for oxygenation to happen. And that is that blood moves from the left ventricle into the pulmonary, the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery to be taken to the lungs for oxygenation, in what we term as pulmonary circulation. Okay, so the arteries carry blood away from the heart, and this blood is often oxygenated. Only one artery carries the deoxygenated blood from the heart into the lungs, and that artery is the pulmonary artery. So an artery is quite thick. It is made up of a wall that is quite thick, and this wall is very important because it allows the arteries to withstand the pressure with which blood flows into them. Okay, so the three layers of the arterial wall, the inner layer, which we call the tunica intima, and then the middle layer, tunica media, and then the last layer, the outermost layer, which we call tunica externa. So the composition of these layers is quite different. The innermost is very smooth, and it consists of endothelial cells that are attached to the basement membrane. So the innermost layer is the one that allows this one here, is the one that allows the blood to flow. Okay, and then the middle layer, it is the thickest of the three layers. This one here, from this point to this point, this is the tunica media. Okay, and then the last layer, which is the outermost, and is connected to it's made up of connective tissue, and it also provides more reinforcement to make sure that the artery has strength and support, and that it can withhold or withstand the pressure from the heart. So there are certain points on our bodies where we can feel what we call the arterial pulse. Okay, so when the heart contracts, it pushes the blood into the arteries, and we can feel that push. Okay, and that is what we call arterial pulse. Okay, which can be palpated around this area and other areas. So as when you press here, this is what you call the radial pulse. Okay, you should be able to feel the pulsation when blood is moving through the pressure that the blood exerts into the arterial wall makes it to push what we are calling as the palpation. Okay, so when the ventricles contract, they cause the arteries to relax, and then the blood now flows. Okay, so there is always that pulsation that you can always feel when you touch, especially the radial pulse. You can always feel it, and this is what the doctors will always check. Okay, on average, you can have, for an adult, you can have the pulse rate at 72 beats per minute. Okay, the pulsation. Okay, and in the module, the subject or the topic concerned with homeostasis, we'll look at how the rate of heartbeat is controlled. Okay, and that is basically the pulse rate, how the extent to which the heart pumps per minute. So we move to summarizing the arteries. they are very narrow. The lumen, when we talk about the lumen, we are referring to the space through which the blood flows. This space here, this white space. Okay, yes, this white space here is what we call the lumen. Okay, so this lumen is quite narrow, and this means that there is the need to have high pressure to allow the blood to move through an artery. Okay, the more it is narrow, the more we need more pressure to have the blood flow. And that's why when someone's artery is damaged or injured, see the blood will come in form of pulsations. Okay, there will be that push that comes. Okay, so the smaller or the narrow lumen contributes to this high pressure. And then the other thing is that the muscular wall are thick enough to allow the arterial wall to contract and relax, and therefore creating a pulse. The arteries connect to capillaries via what we call arterioles. Okay, the arterioles. So the arteries do not join capillaries directly, but they terminate or they temper into, they become smaller. The arterioles are actually smaller but still remain with the same layers of the muscles, but in this case they're actually smaller and then connect to the capillaries, where exchange of material happens. Okay, nutrients, waste material and things like that happen in the capillaries, as we shall see shortly. So the next type of blood vessels that we are going to look at are the veins. The veins are thin, okay, in comparison to the arteries, and then the lumen is actually wider. So this therefore means that the pressure in the veins is actually less compared to the blood pressure that is exerted on the walls of the veins. Okay, so the veins carry blood that from the different organs of the body to the heart. Okay, of course the only exception that we have here is also regarding the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein or the pulmonary veins, they are 4 in number. They bring blood that comes from the lungs to the heart, and this blood is rich in oxygen. Okay, the pulmonary veins carry blood from the lungs to the heart, and that blood is rich in oxygen. Whereas the blood that is carried from the different body organs to the heart by veins is deoxygenated. Okay, it's deoxygenated, and this of course comes from the vena cava, the superior and then the inferior vena cava that open into the right atrium. Okay, so if I'm to repeat, the vein has a larger lumen compared to the arteries. The walls are not as thick as the arteries, and the function is related to bringing blood from the different organs to the heart. They have something that the arteries don't have. The veins have valves, these valves allow for flow of blood in one direction. Okay, probably why we don't have arteries. I mean, we don't have arteries with valves, or the arteries don't have valves, because the blood is actually moving at higher pressure, and it is not likely that you will have a backflow. Okay, but for veins, the blood does not move at higher pressure, and therefore there is need to have valves that ensure that there is no backflow of blood. Okay. So the veins actually connect to capillary. To capillary. So what we basically have is we have arteries connect to arterioles, and then the arterioles connect to capillaries, and then the capillaries connect to veins. So we already said that the capillaries are the ones that are concerned with the exchange of nutrients and also waste products. Okay, so the connection of capillaries to the veins also happens through small venules. Okay, venules here, small venules here around this point. We will see this more clearly when we are talking about the tissue fluid. Okay, how the tissue fluid is formed in the different tissues. Okay, so we'll see that this fluid will be forced out of the pores of the capillaries into the intercellular space. Okay, and then we'll see that it happens more towards this end of the arterioles with the capillaries than at the point of the venules with the veins. We will see that this actually happens because the pressure is more this side than this side. Okay, we will see. We will look at that shortly. So capillaries are very thin. They have thin walls. They are 1 cell thick. Okay, so that means that the diffusion can easily take place. So the diffusion of nutrients and the other waste products happen at the capillary end, at the capillaries. Okay. So if we ask you about the adaptation of capillaries for exchange of materials, then you should be able to say that the capillaries are not thick, they're actually thin, and this allows a movement of particles, and they're also not tightly packed. The cells of the capillaries that form the capillaries are not tightly packed, so that means that you have pores that can also allow exchange of materials. So in summary, we have looked at just 1 minute. We have looked at the arteries, veins, and capillaries. We said that the arteries carry blood away from the heart, the veins bring the blood to the heart, and then the capillaries allow exchange of materials. Okay, there is difference in pressure, more pressure in the capillaries compared to the veins, and also more pressure in the arteries compared to the veins, and also the same with the capillaries. Okay, in terms of thickness, the arteries are more thicker compared to the veins and also the capillaries. Okay, so that marks the end of this presentation. Thank you.